First things first, Mary, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks. Very good. It's very nice to be here.
Good to have you here.
Yeah.
So before we talk about the album you're working on and the music, I want to go to the live performances because I read somewhere that you said that the energy that you have on stage comes from your youth and then kind of that punk attitude.
Yeah, I mean, I think I developed my stage presence when I was a teenager, because I was in a punk band, or like an alternative kind of, what do you say, experimental punk band of some sort, and that was kind of like, actually for me, like it was so scary, that whole thing about being on stage and performing for an audience, but it was the only thing that I wanted to do, so I had to kind of learn to pull through it. And I think through that experience with that punk band, I learned to let go and just, and so that's stuck with me. Yeah, it's stuck with me.
Do you remember that first show?
The first show with the punk band? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
What was it like?
We were very nervous and, quite frankly, pretty drunk, because we were both like super nervous. But fun and just energetic and wild, you know. Again, it was punk music. It was very political, and so it was all about just being like.
And so now, well, you say you still like to have a message in your music, but then there's also obviously a pop element. So what is your approach to the live performances now? Is it still that very?
I think it's that whole thing about letting go and becoming somehow one with the music and with the audience and with kind of like just the feeling that you're expressing, you know?
And do you think about this when you're writing songs and when you're working on a track?
If I think about the live shows, sometimes I do, but then it's not on purpose. And, you know, like then it's more like I do the song and then suddenly I see myself. But, and when you do that, that's obviously, not obviously, but then it's usually a good sign.
Okay.
You know, then it's because you have a good song, because you're already being like, oh, then I want to be like standing and like, you know, like, so when that happens, it's really good.
Right. And, well, for instance, on a day like today, when you're on stage, what goes through your mind? Is it very conscious? Are you very?
Well, I think today, because today is the first show on my festival summer kind of tour, so I'm a little bit nervous today actually. So yeah, so
now
that's
the punk attitude will come.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it usually comes. Like, I mean, it's just, especially actually if I'm nervous, because then I even more feel like I need to get all this tension out of my body, you know, in a way. So yeah.
And this might be impossible to describe, but you mentioned letting go, kind of in the moment. And what does it feel like on stage? Are you very aware of what's happening, or is it more?
I mean, sometimes I'm very aware, but when that happens, I like when I'm not too aware, if you know what I mean. The best thing is when, again, as I said, when you're manage to just let go and just be free and just, because that's actually that's one of the best moments that for me that I can experience, because it's like the ultimate feeling of freedom and joy in a way, because you're singing and you're expressing these things that you wrote about together with a lot of people that's joining in on that feeling with you. It's the fucking most ultimate feeling.
Well, I was going to ask, so what role does the audience play in this? Because obviously it's kind of an interaction.
Yeah, but that's the thing, but that's the beauty of it in a way, because you are connecting with all of them in that moment, and again, we're humans and we're what do we say? We're hyper social, and the feeling of being understood and to connect in a feeling is again, one of the most ultimate feelings you can feel. That makes you happy. It just satisfies your body and your soul. So therefore, playing concerts can, on the good days, be the best experience you'll have. You know, it's a very special thing.
And so now then, because you're working on your second album.
Yeah.
So where do you start with writing? Do you have certain things you want to share with your audience and you want to kind of talk about?
In general, when I write songs, or
or specifically for this album?
Yeah. So the thing is with this album, though, is actually that I've been more or less working on it for 4 years.
Right.
So, and because, you know, the thing was that I released an album which was more like an indie album, and then Lean On happened with Major Lazer, and then, you know, things kind of changed, and I went down this path and a little bit back, and then, you know, I went a little bit around until I found the right direction. So therefore it was a bit different with the second album. But normally, yes, I think it's about, you write all these songs, and every time you write a song, you think about and you feel about what you wanna actually talk about. And then once you start to have a couple of songs, you start to see a pattern, and you're like, oh, this is actually what it's about. And then suddenly, like, the vision just brick by brick gets more clear.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much you can reveal, but what have you noticed about the material? Because you've released already a couple of songs. So what?
I released a couple of songs, yeah.
So what have you noticed about? Well, you mentioned the bricks. So what are you building in a way?
So I mean, the thing is, I guess it's a little bit tricky about how much I can say, because I definitely now I do have the overall theme, and also I'm starting to visually also, you know, it's all building, but I also feel that maybe I shouldn't say too much though.
Fair enough.
Because it's still it's close to being defined 100%, but
let me ask you this then. What is still missing?
What is missing? Right now it's structure, actually, because I feel like we have all the ideas, we have all the songs. Mm-hmm. It's about, of course, finishing the songs, but then also what kind of, you know, again, combining it in the right
order.
Order, exactly. Right. So yeah, so it's structure that's missing.
Okay. And then, well, you mentioned kind of the songs you had lean on, and then kind of a couple of years where it was more tracks and.
Yeah.
But what did you take away from those years? Did that influence what you're doing now?
Yeah, I mean, Lean On was obviously like the biggest life changer, and also a dream coming true. And so, of course, and it was a very hectic year. I mean, but in a good way. But as I said, I think it did this thing. Like suddenly, all these doors were open, and so I tried a lot of different things, and I was trying to, in a way, figure out. Well, then, who's me now? You know, like what am I now?
So you know better what you're not, and.
I think it was just that thing of like getting back to the ground and realize. I'm that, but I'm also that, and I'm also this, you know, and then somehow trying to figure out what that sound was.
But I can imagine
that story.
I can imagine that's very tough to do when there's so much happening around you.
Exactly, and that's why it's been taking so long, because it was really hard to analyze when you're in the eye of the storm.
Right.
So a little time had to pass, but I'm very, very happy and thankful for that experience. And I think sometimes it's good to even struggle a little bit to find back in on the right path, because that'll make it so much more worth it once you're there.
And then I wrote something down which kind of ties in with this, is where you said I want to reach a lot of people, but not at any cost. So
yeah, exactly.
So is
you have
this
to be honest.
Exactly. Is it part of what you mentioned? You're looking for something, but you don't just want to put something out there. And
no. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Like it's that thing. Like you want to make sure it's honest to yourself. Like before you just and I mean, I think it's a good thing to sometimes, how do you say, like get your fingers burned. Like it's very important you listen to people as well. But it's that fine balance between like you have to feel good about it, but you also of course have to listen when you want, like, you know, to a little bit what people say, but then with your own kind of, own common sense. Is that what you say? Like, figure out what's the right thing for you to do. And that can take a while, and especially when things are like, and you want to make sure you fucking can stand by what you put out and that you can look yourself in the eyes afterward, because it's your fucking face and you're going to live with that all your life, so.
This is a little bit of a mean question then, but did you get your fingers burned in the past couple of years?
I've gotten burned a couple of times, yeah. Not big, but just like small little, maybe I should have done that. Like, but it's good. I'm also like, I'm all my life, I've always been like the person that's like learning by doing, you know. And so I think, but I'm thankful for that. I'm happy about all the times that I've failed, because otherwise I wouldn't know. And also I'd rather be doing that, getting my fingers burned, than not daring to do anything and then just stand still, like, because I'm afraid of failing. I'd rather just fucking fail, and then I'll do something good eventually, you know. So yeah.
Final question then, because well, you're taking your time for the album and what we're talking about.
I'm almost done.
Almost done, but in a sense, because well, we're living in a day and age where albums aren't as important as they once were. So for you, why is it still important to have that collective, cohesive thing?
I think, again, especially if you're like interested in like, I mean, I don't know, for me it still means a lot in terms of like developing yourself as an artist, and like to try to create something that has like a body of thoughts and works, and like and also I used to be in art school. I'm super visually interested in like you know, like the visual side to the music, artwork and all that fucking shit. And like, I think for me, it's still interesting to do it. And also I think it's nice for fans actually to see another side of you than just singles. Like, obviously, like we don't only want to listen to, you need all the layers of a human personality. That's what I think at least. Okay. So yeah.
Right, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.